Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Loretta Williams, and today I will be speaking with you guys about a historical American. And the person that I chose to write about is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I chose to write about him because Martin Luther King set the stage for African Americans such as myself. Just a little bit history about him. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. His birth certificate listed his first name as Michael, but later in life it was changed to Martin. His grandfather and his father both served as pastors of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. Martin Luther King graduated from Morehouse College in 1948 with a degree in sociology. He also received a bachelor's of divinity in 1951 and then a PhD from Boston College in 1955. This is also where he met and later married Coretta Scott. They have 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. Martin Luther King was appointed as pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama in 1954. While serving as the pastor of the church, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a bus to a white man. This was on December 1st, 1955. And by December 5th, 1955, the Montgomery bus boycott had begun. And this wasn't the first time an African American was arrested for not giving up their seat. On March 2nd of that same year, a 15-year-old girl who refused to give up her seat to a white man on a Montgomery City bus was in violation of a local law. Claudette Colvin was arrested and taken to jail. The NAACP felt that they had a case to challenge Montgomery's segregated bus policies, but however, it was later revealed that she was pregnant, and civil rights leaders feared this would scandalize the deepest religious black community and make Calvin and the group efforts less credible in the eyes of sympathetic whites. But on December 1st, 1955, when Rosa refused to give up her seat, that gave them another chance. So when Rosa Parks boarded the Cleveland Avenue bus to go home from an exhausting day at work, she sat in the first rows of seats for colors. After a few stops, the bus driver noticed that there were whites standing, so of course, he asked the blacks to give up their seats. Everyone except Rosa gave up their seats. She remained seated. The driver asked her again and she refused, so he had her arrested. On December 5th of that same year, Martin Luther King was elected president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, which led the Montgomery bus boycott. During this time, African Americans refused to ride the public buses. King's home was bombed due to this involvement, and thankfully, his wife and his baby daughter was in the home at the time, but they were unharmed. And that following February, King was arrested and charged with conspiracy. He was actually arrested a total of 29 times. The bus boycott lasted 385 days. In the end, on December 21st, 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that racial segregation on public transportation was illegal. And in 1963, Times Magazine named Martin Luther King Man of the Year. In 1964, he met with Pope Paul VI and was honored as the youngest person ever to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. He was awarded this on December 10th, 1964, and at the age of 35. He gave the entire amount of the prize money to the civil rights movement to help out. Between 1965 and 1968, King continued with his protests work and his fight with the civil rights. April 3rd, 1968, King gave his last speech. He spoke these words: God has allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know as a people that we will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. For my eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. This was his last speech. On the next day, which was April 4th, 1968, he was at the Lorena Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Martin Luther King was standing on the balcony and was assassinated by James Earl Ray. But to this day, there are still questions to his guilt and whether there was a larger conspiracy behind it. To this day, Martin Luther King has a federal holiday. It's every third Monday of January. We pay honors to a man who has paved the way for freedom, justice, and equality, and an influential African-American civil rights leader who was Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.